Hey guys, it's me Jenny and it's time for another commentary. This is going to be a slightly shorter one because I'm going to focus on just the D&D mini-series that I've produced thus far. So it's going to be quite short, quite to the point, quite snappy, etc, etc. And I'll do another full commentary later on whenever there's a chance to do it. So from my post-holiday catch-up mini-series part 1, Related Critical Role and recurring villains episode, the Threshold of Dave says, I know it would take a long, it would be long and sound could be a problem, but any chance you would film a whole D&D game and upload it? So this is something that I've been asked a couple of times, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to direct to it in a commentary, because I've got a lot of thoughts about this. The biggest problem when it would come to filming a D&D session with my current D&D group is I have kind of like my YouTube life, and I have my work life, I have my D&D life, and I have my other socials type things, and very rarely do those things intersect. The reasons why I can talk about planning my DM sessions on my D&D show thing, and the reason why I can discuss the games I've had and how I feel about the games I've had for my show is because I know that none of my D&D friends watch my YouTube channel. And I think only one or two of them know that I do vlogging, and that's not because I've kept it a secret. It's just, you know, when I go to the D&D sessions, it's to play D&D, and vlogging and such life don't really come up. There is some intersection. I do have some Critter fans who are some Critter friends who are fans of Critical Role, so we can discuss that, and there is some give and take there, but again, it doesn't come down to my personal vlog channel. And so in order to get consent from 5 to 7 people to film them in a public space while they're all eating and drinking and playing, when I don't know a lot of them very well. I've only been part of this group for under a year, about 6-7 months, and with that group we change groups every couple of months. So some of them I know pretty well at this point, but some of them I've never been in a game with before. Some of them I've only just learned their names, or I haven't even learned their names yet because I've been doing a different D&D group and I've switched to them for this session. So in order to get consent from 7 people who I varyingly know, in order to film them for 3 hours while they're eating, while they're drinking, while they're having fun, while they're trying to remember the rules, and you know, we've got some quite young DMs, not as in young aged, everyone's of age to be in a pub, but everyone, like some people who are DMing for the first time, in order to get their consent for the entire group to be filmed is going to be very, very unlikely. It's in a public place, it's not a private residence where I have hold over who is and is not on screen. It's not that sort of environment. So in order to film in that public space and get everyone's consent would be near impossible. And I don't want to put pressure on these budding friendships to say, hey, I'm making a vlog channel, do you guys want to do D&D and be filmed? Because that's a whole other type of pressure. I'm very used to being on the internet because I've been doing it for over 3 years now. I'm used to talking to a camera. I am not used to talking to a camera even with normal friends. Like, the only other people who've really been on videos with me are the 1 and 2 YouTube friends that I've met in real life. And even my sisters and my closest friends don't feel comfortable being on camera. I just don't want to put pressure on these budding relationships, which could be great, and maybe in a year or 2 time, and if they find out about my YouTube channel and they're happy with it, maybe then. But none of my IRL friends for D&D are particularly interested in the concept of doing that, and I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to bring that pressure or that deadline. And yeah, from a tech side of things, it's also very difficult. I would have to film in low definition like this in order to record for the extended amount of time, because it's 3 hours a week. So my digital camera, my high definition digital camera, would not be able to record that much. I'd have to buy several more SD cards. It would be very difficult to get that continuous. I'd have to charge my camera halfway through, which wouldn't be efficient. Or I could bring my laptop in, but my laptop is kind of fragile. I've talked about it before, but at the moment it's being held together with electrical tape. Hey! Which I'd have to bring in on my bike, because that's how I get to and from D&D, which is a couple of miles. So I can't really film it on either my normal camera or my web camera. Either way, it's not particularly practical from a technical standpoint. Also, the fact that it's got inconsistent lighting, it's got, we're in a public space, we're in a pub, which, doesn't have good audio quality. Generally, like, sometimes it's hard to hear players from across the table because it's an old building. It's not designed for recording, it's not designed for speech making, it's a pub. So you have ambient sound from the other players, you have ambient sound from people at the bar, you have ambient sound from general members of the public who did not consent to be in the video. So in that context, it's just not possible. Then we've got problems with the lighting won't be great, even if I were to get the audio up to scratch, even if I were to get permission from the general public. I've got to ask permission to film in the pub. I've got to, lighting will be an issue. There's also the problem of where would I position the camera? Where would it be good to get an angle? Do I get everyone? Do I focus on the board? Do I focus on my DM screen or whatever? So it doesn't work. With the current group that I'm part of and the stage we're at in that relationship, it just wouldn't work. If in the future I decide to run my own game from my own private house and manage to get a group together to come meet once a week and I run a game, and again, by and by they feel confident enough that I can film from the privacy of my own house and I can set up a table in my kitchen and we can all kind of party in that way, like the way that Critical Role started off, which was a home game. If I could do that, maybe, but I think I'm at least a good year or two off that, both as an inexperienced DM and as a inexperienced person in running multiple relationships of that dynamic. I live in a shared house, so even then it would be difficult to get even if I got consent from the people who are in the DMD group, getting consent from the other people that I live with, again, it comes into play. The only way that I would be able to do any sort of visual thing for recording a full-length game is, again, it's going to be a little while, but if I manage to run an online game, so I can maybe post it on Twitch and YouTube with my online friends. A couple of people have made interest in it. I can think of 3 or 4 people who in the last year have started playing D&D or have expressed an interest in playing D&D, who are my long-term internet friends, who I would trust to hang out online with for, enough time to make a game. It's going to be a while before that comes to pass. Again, I am an inexperienced DM. If I were to do this, I would have to DM in order to rally the troops and organise it and post it on my channel. I would have to get people who are happy being on camera, which most of my internet friends are, but I'd have to organise that. I'd have to set a set time, which with international friends it's very difficult. I've done it before and I really want to do it. If I get enough interest, I need at least 3 players, but I need more experience as a DM. If I'm doing it online, it's a whole other thing because there's no way you can move things around a board, so it'll either have to be entirely psychologically driven, so I just have to remember where people are, or I would have to work out. I know there are D&D programs where you can move characters around a map on the screen on like a screen share type thing, but I'd need to get to grips with that technology. So I'd have to get to grips with technology, I'd have to rally the troops, I'd have to set a designated time and place where I can stay up to do that. I'd have to run the game, and I need more DM experience, and I have to get players. I'm all for that. I would be very happy to do that, say, next year, starting from January, if I can get players who are really interested, and if I've had a little bit more experience, maybe one more campaign if I run that. I would be really interested in doing that next year. I think that would be really, really fun, and if you guys would be interested in that, I would love to post it to you guys. But it's a while off. It really is going to have to be a while off, and with my current group, I can talk about the gameplay, but actually bringing in other people is going to be highly challenging. Maybe in a couple of months, once I've got to know a few more people, if they're willing, I might be able to bring them in and chat, but we're not even at the point where we socialise around each other's house. We just meet for D&D. So there's a lot to work on in that aspect. So bear with me. I will really try, but it's not going to be anytime soon, and it's something that I've been wanting to address for a long time. So that's the full explanation of why I haven't done anything for D&D, and I really know that when it comes to vlogging, it makes it so much better if you can show something rather than just say it. which is the reason why I know my D&D show isn't the best, because it's just me talking about it. It's me explaining what happened then and telling you about the story points, rather than playing and actually getting, you know, seeing the dice roll and seeing all of that happen. It's not as good. It really isn't. And even Critical Role has amazing productions, and they pour money into it, and it's not a lot of money. It really isn't a lot of money that they have to run with, because nothing on the internet costs that much money, but they still have to pour in a lot. They have people running the cameras, they have these, you know, really high-ranking experienced players doing it, and experienced vloggers, all in charge of a very detailed set with multiple cameras and multiple things, and I don't have the budget for that, I don't have the production team for that, and at the moment I don't have the friends who are willing to do that yet. I will work something out in the future if I can find people, but it's going to be a while, so, you know, if you guys are interested, please bear with me. I will get there eventually, but I want to tell you what my plans are, but that is the answer to that question. Moving on to my post-holiday part 2 D&D miniseries, Belated Critical Role and NPCs are the best. Smiley face. Eric Monford asks, Lilith, I wish it was possible to get more of her. Also, what was up with the note she sent to Percy? Taliesin just read it and pulled it up and put it in his pocket and never saw mention of it. Again, sorry, I've just had some pizza. I am hiccupy all over the place. I shall drink some tea to try and stop with the hiccups, because that's not good. Okay, so when it comes to Lilith, I have very mixed feelings. And I wrote an entire essay back to Eric Mumford on this, and I apologise for that big old essay. The thing with Lilith is, going from what the Critical Role players have always said, is they want relationships to happen naturally in the game. They want the roll of the dice and the luck of the characters and the luck of the players to influence the actual characters. And they want it to be very natural. They're not going to force the Keyleth Vax ship. They're not going to force the Percy Vex ship. Any other ships that happen, it's going to happen naturally, and that's where you get surprises. That's why you get Pike and Scanlan having their relationship at the point they're at right now. It's part of the game. It's, you know, they don't want to be spoiled for their own character choices. They can hope where their characters can go, but they don't want to spoil it. And the thing with Percy as a character is he is pretty emotionally shut down. It takes a lot for him to learn to trust people, and he's just got to the point where he trusts everyone in his party, and they trust him within modicums of trust. And as far as we know, he has never really been in a romantic relationship with any other character. The Keyleth Percy ship has got a lot of fire behind it by the fans, partially because Kit Buss, who plays Keyleth, really loves the concept. She's one of those girls who likes fandom and likes ships, which is great. And the idea of Lilith, who has got demons in her past and demons in her heritage and has white hair, and Percy, who has demons in his heritage and demons in his past, and also, you know, manages that kind of line between chaotic good and chaotic evil. Those two characters would make a great couple, but only if they actually spent time together. And the fact that the entire ship was created as a joke that Scanlan made, which then Kit Buss and the fandom latched onto because it's a great idea. But with Percy in the state that he was in when they met, what he was going through from a trauma perspective, what was happening at that particular point, and the fact they only knew each other for, let's say, a maximum of 2 to 3 hours, I find it highly unlikely that anything happened, especially given that Percy was highly traumatized, going through something very traumatic, and has huge trust issues. So I don't believe that ship. I believe it has potential, but only if Kit Buss were to become a regular member of the party to play in, say, at least 10 to 15 games. She'd need probably about the amount of screen time that Clarota had in order to progress that ship in a convincing way. And because that's not going to happen, because Kit Buss lives in England, because that's not going to happen, because it's not a possibility for that level of relationship to build in a natural way as the characters have expressed a way of doing it. Because that's not going to happen, I don't think Taliesin wants to encourage the ship. because it puts the character of Percy in a very different place than where he wants Percy to be. He wants Percy to slowly open up, to slowly come to terms with the possibility of relationships. He has a lot of issues, a lot of darkness. And if you say, oh, he's just, you know, the romantic lead that you get in your average anime where he starts off kind of stuffy and then you grow to love him and he has a romantic thing. If the romance is going to happen, it has to happen in game, it has to happen naturally, and it has to happen within the boundaries of his character, which is why I'm starting to buy into the Vex Percy ship, because there is a bit of pushing here and there, like definitely there is a little bit of Vex trying, and that's not hard to see that she's trying to push that ship, but even with her pushing the ship very gently and very delicately, Percy is resisting, which is very true to his character. I genuinely don't see him sleeping with Lilith after knowing her for 4 hours in the middle of this huge trauma. But it's happening very slowly with Vex, and it's very true to the character. And, you know, he's got to the point where he's, spoiler alert, made her a baroness, which puts her in a similar position to him. It equalizes their relationship. I think he has a huge amount of respect for her, and she has a huge amount of respect for him, and they're both kind of the unofficial kind of tacticians of the series. I find it fascinating, the two characters, and it's really interesting getting to know Vex, particularly in this particular arc. Vex in this particular arc. So I'm more likely to buy into that ship than into the Lilith ship. I think Lilith is a fantastic character. I think Kit Buss is a phenomenal player, but until she can spend time with the characters, I can't buy into the ship, and I think that's the reason why Taliesin put the letter away, because if he's going to be this romantic lead and not much else, then it breaks down everything he's built up with his character, everything that he's shut down about Percy, and everything he's brought forth about Percy. But yeah, anyway, I wrote an essay, I've said an essay, there we go, I hope you enjoyed. ZenDragon333, hello, said it was a hard choice to make, however he has to go with Kaylee. I think I asked what your favourite NPCs were. Scanlan's daughter, she is so feisty and I bet she has skills that we have yet to see in action. I really like Hayley. I love her accent. I love her feistiness, as you said. Matt, I believe, one of the things that Matt did was he talked about if he were to be a player instead of a DM, he would be a bard. He would probably be a dwarven bard because he likes dwarves. And he really wanted to create a bard that could conduct a battlefield and would like use the clashing of shields and striking of swords and use that kind of rhythm of battle to kind of charge the events and like rise up a concerto here with one player attacking another player and like use it as like envision the noise of battle as a orchestra and then conduct it, and that is the school of the maestro, and that is the school that he's designed specifically for Kaylee as an experiment. Given that, I would love to see Kaylee in action. I would love to see her in combat, and we haven't had that yet. We've had her avoiding combat, we've had her throwing her voice twice or 3 times, which makes me definitely think she is the Order of the Maestro. But I feel like we need to see her in combat to really see how that comes into play truly. And yeah, I really think she's got a lot of skills left to develop. The other thing that came into play was right when you first got introduced to her and she's in Scanlan's bedroom and she confronts him for the first time, she whips out a sword. She doesn't use magic, she whips out a sword, which makes me think that she's probably got some good skills with a sword as well. She said that she trained with a blade in order to, you know, exact her vengeance on this absent father. So I would really like to see her develop a little bit more. There are so many characters in this world that you can't really have too much time with any one character other than the player characters. But I think she is fantastic. And yeah, good choice, ZenDragon. Nice to meet you. Okay, moving on to my next one, my post-holiday mini-series, Mabob, Dooley What's It? Number 3, characters, backstories, and influencing the world. Nathan Lar says he's never played the game, but as someone who's been writing stories for over a decade, he can understand the excitement of watching a story unfold. Watching me describe my experience for the first time, he thought maybe he should give this game a go. The thing with D&D is it's such a scary concept, especially to non-players. Like, I was terrified before watching Critical Role. I was really genuinely scared of the concept of playing a D&D game. And until watching Critical Role, I didn't get it. I didn't get that it was collaborative storytelling. I thought it was a lot more maths and a lot more general difficulty. But actually having played it and having watched Critical Role, it is just collaborative storytelling. It's creating characters and watching them interspersed with an action. So, you know, they say a lot of the greatest writers in the world did play RPGs, because it gives you a chance to get into the mindset of a character and then see how that character moves in the world. And it does help bring out that part of your imagination. It's the closer you can get to child play, to children running around imagining they're cops and robbers, or cowboys and Indians, or all of those sort of things, or fairy princesses making tea. Like, it's actively using your imagination and putting yourself in that made-up world. And it's the closest you can get as an adult to doing that. And that's a fantastic way of exercising the imagination part of your brain. So I would recommend it to any budding storytellers. I haven't written for many years, and I never wrote particularly well. Rereading some of the stuff when I was a child, which I was really proud of, I reread them recently and I was like, I had zero imagination. I really shouldn't have been writing. But it helps shape the environment, and especially when you've got other people playing other characters, and thinking how your character would react to what they do is beautiful. And that's an example of, like, Keyleth. If you go back to the first couple of episodes of Critical Role, and you have Keyleth versus Kima, and we all grew to love Kima and we all grew to love Keyleth, but seeing those two bounce off each other is really very interesting, especially in this episode before you get to really know Keyleth, and you're like, Keyleth, stop being such a bitch. But it's actually, if you think from the perspective of the characters, it makes so much sense. And the fact that you then have this very interesting interplay between characters. It works, and it's very interesting to me. Moving on to my part 4, Tisa, half-elf ranger druid character progression. Nathan Lyle again commented that he does stories specifically about sports, and his characters usually start from a very base point and then work their way up. So yeah, again, it's creating a story and creating characters that you can build up. And the hero's journey is, you hear a lot about the hero's journey, but you know, you have to kind of start from a base point and work your way up, because if you don't have any progression, it's not going to be a fulfilling story, because everyone wants that, the catharsis, the progression. Everyone wants to know they progressed in order to get a compelling arc. Starting off with a perfect Mary Sue and you can't really get any progression is never going to be as satisfying as seeing someone start from low down and working their way up. That being said, you need to find complexities within your character. So if they're really good at one thing and then really terrible at another thing, you can see how those two things rebalance during the course of the story. It could be they start off, I don't know, really great at maths but really terrible at sports, as an example, and then as they slowly get better at sports, they get worse at maths, or some vice versa. It's about finding balance and finding progression wherever that may be. And some people I've heard say, I think it was John Green said, the hero's journey is not the progression from weakness to strength, but is from the journey from strength to weakness. It's the idea that you can let go of something in order to move forward. So yeah, if you're interested in the hero's journey, please check out the book, which I don't have on my shelf right now, so I can't remember what it's called. It's called The Hero's Journey, but I can't remember who wrote it. It's a really great story on metaphorical storytelling and the hero with 1,000 faces and so on and so forth. Whew! Moving on to post-holiday catch-up part 5, DMing and the future. So I've kind of already discussed this right at the beginning. It was the first question that I asked. Nathan Lau says, sounds like fun, you should totally do that, so thank you. Oh god, hiccup still. As I said, it will be a while off that coming into fruition, but for now, there we go. On my post-holiday catch-up mini-series part 6, there was no comments at all, so there we go. On my part 1 of my most recent D&D mini-series, Towards Time says, awesome job on the cosplay! And if I wanted her to do some photoshopping, just let her know, because she's a fantastic artist. She's amazing. So I may have work for you in the future, or maybe. I don't know. We shall see. Moving on to D&D new series part 2. Critical Role live reaction. Red Sky Blackbird said the live action seemed more humorous than the usual show. I feel like there was some definitely on the nose humorous points that maybe wouldn't have been included so much in the original game, like the polygamy joke was a little bit on the nose. I can see maybe if they were still back in the home game, or I don't know, like it seemed very over the top at the time, but the more I thought about it, it was just like, it's hilarious. And to be honest, that's the sort of joke Sam makes all the time. I think the only thing that would stop him doing if Vax and Vex were more kind of, you know, we want to be true to our roots and, you know, live up to the heritage. I think they'll probably get embarrassed later by, especially if their father finds out. But to be honest, it's just a Sam joke. That's just something that Sam would say. I don't think it was actively more humorous than anything else. And we have to remember there was cows and consequences. Like, no other things I think have got that ridiculous. But there's been plenty of other full-on hilarity jokes, and bidet is just a thing that Grog would say. It's a classic Critical Role. I don't think it was actively more humorous. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, more people laughed, but that's because there was more people watching. I don't think it was more funny than many other ones. I've been in tears with laughter on Critical Role before, and this was just another one of those occasions. And yes, I did spoil quite a lot in that episode, so I'm sorry. GJKO says, be nice if you go away. Be nice. Be nice if I go away. I think there's some mixed grammar in there. Be nice if I go away. I think you need to put a comma in there, and you also need a big capital letter on the B. But thank you for being there, and you know, if you come into my classroom and ask me to get off from the front of the classroom, then I know who's going to be moving first. So thank you for commenting, you're a star. I hope you have a wonderful day, and feel free, if you wish, to come back, and if you don't, so be it. And there was no other comments on the rest of the mini-series. Now, I do know I posted them quite recently. I only posted them on Sunday, and the day of filming this is Tuesday, so I will double check them before filming my next commentary. But there we go. This is meant to be a short episode. I don't know how long I've been talking, but the alarm on the oven's been going off for quite some time. Oh my god, 27 minutes! Okay, thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment down below, for those of you who watch my commentaries a lot, as I tend to ramble a lot. I usually put a secret word of the day down, so you guys can, you know, prove to me that you've watched all the way to the end, because you're insane. And so today's comment of the day is going to be hat, because of the live episode of Critical Role where they had to steal a hat. Cool. So feel free to put that down in the comments. You can be as subtly or as unsubtly as you like. You just put the word hat if you like, or you can put the whole sentence and put it in really subtly. You can do a cryptic crossword type clue thing and see whether or not I can work it out. Either way, I will see you guys all very soon for my next video of some kind. Bye for now.